So Cryo Archive is the fourth map coming to Marathon, and is likely to be playable by the end of the month. But with it being so close to being playable, we actually know very little outside of small snippets of information that Bungie has dropped. Today, we're going through everything we know about Cryo Archive, and then we're going to theorize on how the map might work based on the information we have available to us. So let's get to it. Cryo Archive is set aboard the first floor of the UESC Marathon, which was once a colony ship formed from the moon of Mars Deimos. I say was because during the events of the original Marathon trilogy, the UESC Marathon was attacked, and the end result now lay silent in the orbit of Tau Ceti. Through the vision of Marathon Vidoc, we learn that the Cryo Archive is as dangerous as it is mysterious. You'll encounter a high UESC presence, close quarter engagements with enemy runners, and the real reason will be there: the frozen vaults, which to access will require us to solve raid-like security measures. Cryo Archive is the first true endgame zone in Marathon, and everything it has to offer is going to reflect that. You'll need to bring your best stuff, or you're going to have a bad time. The vaults will be your primary goal in Cryo Archive. There are 7 vaults in total, and each vault is quote successively harder than the next unquote. I believe this was a misspeak, as it would imply that the vaults get easier as you progress through them, which doesn't seem right, as we know that the 7th vault has an entity that even the UESC fear. So I'm going to assume with a grain of salt that the vaults actually get harder as you complete them. Thanks to one of the recent cinematics, we have a vague idea of what they may contain, enemy-wise and valuable-wise. The runners that we follow in the cinematic eventually find themselves on the UESC Marathon, in, we presume, the Cryo Archive. They come across one of the vaults, and upon entering, they find a UESC crate. Opening it, they obtain something worth keeping in a locked vault. But that's not all there is. There is also a compiler, an enemy from the original Marathon trilogy. We get to witness just how powerful they are, and trust me, they're powerful. The cinematic ends with one of the runners taking the valuable for themselves, leaving their 2 fellow runners to perish to the compiler. With that, it's likely safe to say that the entity in the 7th vault is actually the compiler. There are some more things from the cinematic that may be important, but we'll discuss that shortly. Through the ongoing Marathon ARG, which will likely end with Cryo Archive being available, we have the names of most of the areas we'll be exploring, as well as camera footage. The areas are as follows: Cargo, Index, Steerage, Revival, Biostock, Preservation, Control, and then 2 unknown areas. So that's 7 named areas and 2 unknown areas. Whether they'll be named as well as the ARG progresses, who knows. Something interesting though is the fact that there's only 7 named areas as of now, and we know there are 7 vaults. It's possible that the vaults will be in those named areas. In addition, it's currently possible to find keys for the Marathon ship on the current maps in-game. They're numbered, have different rarities, and are different to the standard keys. It's possible that these keys are tied to the vaults, but in what way, nobody knows at the moment. So that is everything we currently know about the new, upcoming Cryo Archive zone. There are some things we can speculate on though. For starters, I don't believe the vaults will be locked behind the keys that we can currently find, as that would be locking what seems like a large part of the zone behind key RNG. Instead, I can picture there being additional locked rooms inside each vault for additional loot. Currently, it seems like there are 6 keys available. Key 1 and 2 are Superior, Key 3, 4 and 5 are Prestige, and Key 6 is Contraband. The reason for the different rarities makes sense when we know that Vault 7 is the hardest, and they should get harder as you progress through the vaults from 1 to 7, so the different keys should correlate to the associated vaults. For example, Key 1 would unlock an additional room inside Vault 1, which should be the easiest, and that makes sense as Key 1 is Superior, the lowest rarity that the keys can be. It also seems unlikely that Bungie intends for you to hit all the vaults in a single run, at least without strategy, preparation, and practice. You can stay on maps for 25 minutes, and with 7 vaults, and assuming they only take 2 minutes per, which is being generous, that leaves only 11 minutes for transitioning between vaults, encountering UESC and runners in between, looting, and escaping. That's an awful lot to do in a single run, so assuming you cannot enter a specific vault without doing the previous vault first, and for the record, it may just be that you can do whatever vault you want, but assuming you do have to do them in order, then the raid timer will likely be longer, or your progress with the vaults is somehow saved between runs. Finally, the last bit of speculating is that it's possible that Cryo Archives will only be available during a period of the day, and we may have to extract from an existing map directly to Cryo Archive. In the cinematics that we mentioned earlier, it begins with the runner standing by a terminal saying access denied to the UESC Marathon, Eventually, that terminal says access granted, and the runners extract from the location they're on, and then we next see them in the Cryo archive. After the whole ordeal, one of them returns, and the terminal now says access denied. Assuming the cinematic didn't just take creative liberty, it's not far-fetched to believe that Cryo Archive will only be available at certain times of the day and require you to extract from an existing map to go there. So that is everything we currently know about the Cryo Archive map, the first true endgame experience in Marathon. As I briefly mentioned, there is an ongoing Marathon ARG, and it very much seems like once that is completed, Cryo Archive will be available. Let me know if you have any ideas of what Cryo Archive may contain. As always, thank you for watching, have a great day.